Big Eagles fan. Love my team. Fantasy wise, got a couple people on my team. It hurts. But I don't know.
Welcome to another episode of Black Men. Yours truly, good fantasy.
Chris Jr., as always, here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community.
Devin Pender here to remind you guys to like, follow, subscribe, share, comment.
I got a banger of a show today. I feel like I love this one.
Yeah, it's
Because he's talking about
this conversation I've been having this conversation so many different ways.
current events and sports.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because there's so many ways that you can look at this. And I start here because I want to kind of working outside of the script here, but there's certain people who come out, NBA players, former NBA players, who say how this is racially motivated, and because they're saying, how can you talk about the mob? And they're not saying they're innocent, but they're saying, how do you talk about the mob when you don't have one white person? How do you say they got mob ties? And right now, nobody knows who's going to come out later. But right now, it's like everybody is African American.
It is actually kind of. I did think about that because I've been mentioning that in conversation. It is intriguing to see that they label it as the mob, but you don't see no faces of people that are part of the mob. Like they are saying that these are people that were in the games, and I don't know what Chauncey Billups' role or level of involvement was, but like I mean, I'm sure he was just playing in the game. But like the idea of like showing his face every time.
Well, it's funny because he has nothing to do with the game side.
No,
they have Chauncey Billups because they have him because apparently allegedly he's been running these hot $100,000 just to get into the poker game. Just to get into the poker game.
They went to Texas.
Then they've been using his name because they started naming like some former NBA players, man, who was in his games. So then he was allowing somebody else to use his name to charge $100,000. So he was making that. He wasn't reporting anything to the IRS. That's what it was. He was that kid. And then they had
selling his membership.
And then they had sore losers because I'm not gonna say sore losers, but people would lose, and that's when they started complaining. So people claim there's no evidence. They claim the games were rigged.
I mean,
they said he had X-ray. Yeah. They said the X-ray of the table and stuff like that. So. But I mean, what do you expect when you be going these hole in the wall? They live in mansions, but these games are not sanctioned, man. There's no rules, anything.
Even the idea of sanction, that the house always wins. Like even if you go to the casino, there's some level of kind of shadiness. I feel like that's going on allegedly, where the game is just in their favor. So we can talk about both instances because my thing with Chauncey is, dude, you destined to go to Hall of Fame, man. You're going to be in the Hall of Fame. You got most people play the game want to be a coach. Why? You making no money. Why? I don't understand. I don't. And then Charles Barkley, I say this last point because I want to hear your opinion. Charles Barkley and Kenny were getting into it on the show because Kenny starts talking about the addiction. So then Charles like, nah, but he wasn't gambling. You know what I mean? He wasn't gambling. He was
Chauncey, he was running the show. So because Kenny was saying how it's a disease, and I agree it's a disease and everything, almost offended him. He says, nah, this dude right here, but he wasn't gambling. He was in front of it. So it's like, so because even Shaq look, I know him more personally. Huh?
I mean, not this, but you could never, one could imagine that how you would find yourself in this situation, you may have racked up a debt in the past.
That's what your mom said. Your mom said that he could have. But he was charging $100,000. That's the thing. It wasn't like he was doing it, unless he giving money to somebody you don't know about it. But to use his name, because it was funny, because they went KG to the game. Apparently, these guys just attended some game. I think they trying to smear LeBron a little bit because he was on the other end of it. He had nothing to do with it, but Rozier was talking to him casually. Yeah. And he said, well, we're not supposed to play tonight. Him and that.
That was Damon Jones.
So so they started spreading it. So and then on top of that, they won. So, but it was $2,500. What are you getting for $2,500? I'm saying you making millions of dollars. Well, maybe he blew all his money, but somebody paid you $2,500 for that information. Come on,
it could be competitive thing.
And that's what I was about to say. I think it's so many things to it, like the psychology of it, like the thrill of it, the competitive nature of it. Like these dudes are just top of their class athletes, and I just feel like with a lot of them, they compete all the time. at everything. Like you used to hear them stories of like MJ, like
you saw the
quarters, but like these dudes compete all the way into the max and at the highest level, and I think it carries over in a lot of things, like even something as simple, like because I'm sure there's people around the country that get together and play cards, $100 buy-ins and all types of stuff with their friends, but when they doing it at this level, these guys, they got a ton of money, and again they compete. I feel like at another level with something in them. Like we saw the Last Dance, Michael Jordan. I take that pushing like that. I did like that. I just feel like mixing the gambling in just takes it to a whole nother level. Again, I don't know the extent of. I feel like I need to find out a little bit more about kind of Chauncey Billups' involvement of it. I know kind of what I heard and saw early on was just the idea of the mob being involved and how games is rigged with the X-ray glasses.
Well, more and more
people knowing how to win the game.
But see, the thing about that is, I think, and this goes to your point, apparently what Chauncey's being charged with and what they're going, he had nothing to do with the rig in the game, but he got the big face. More people know him than the Rozier and the Damon.
So it was like the mob guys was running the game, and he was just like getting guys in the door.
Yeah, there was.
He was like catching guys.
So he was inviting people, and then one guy lost. One guy paid $100,000. He lost another $100,000. That's practically snitch. But but the thing, that's another thing. You gotta know. But you gotta know when you're in that position, somebody's gonna tell. Is like when Mike Vick was doing a dog ring. Somebody get caught jaywalking. They snitching because it's a bargaining chip. So you got, how do you not, and it's funny because we get to the sheet. This is nearly 1 out of half. So it says nearly half of U.S. adults gamble every year. So I'm assuming they're talking about the lottery, all the different things that go on.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it.
So it's funny
because
Charles said something and it makes sense. To be open. You want these dudes. You shouldn't be gambling, because Shaq said when they would be in there playing Tonk or whatever for money, people would come in and talk to him about not leaking out information and everything. But Charles had a good point. You made gambling legal. And you said and everybody's made it illegal.
And here's the funny part. Even when they were talking about it on ESPN at one point,
and
they had to get it out. Every commercial on YouTube or something
is bleeding into the game.
You go on fantasy, your fantasy app.
Yeah,
that's one of the things they put in there. So it's
coaches writing up the play, whiteboard, got FanDuel, DraftKings.
But the part about it that the part that they're gonna have to deal with now is because of Pete Rose. Because what happened to Pete Rose, people are gonna keep trying to put that standard because you banned him from the Hall of Fame, you do all this great stuff. That's the same stuff. Because I hear a little bit starting to come out now.
Yeah, because they were trying to separate it at a point in time, like especially when Pete Rose was playing and kind of when circumstances happened with him. But now, like Devin said, it's so much embedded into all of sports.
But it's always been there, and I think if you go back to the
in the commercials and the games and
with the black side, but I mean you're right. It's more commercial
on the jerseys.
It's more commercial. But I remember when Charles Oakley played for Chicago, and we had Tyrone Hill. And I remember Charles Barkley went up. Charles Oakley went up and put Tyrone Hill in the headlock. They had to separate. And they asked what happened. Tyrone Hill lost $20,000 to him playing poker. And he won his money. That became public. Nobody got suspended. That became public because he went up and
because they all doing it.
But he put this dude in the headlock, and people were laughing because they said he collected his money. He owed no money. So it's been around. The AI thing. I said,
the Gilbert Arenas.
That started off the game.
Yeah. So, but the thing, back to your point, you can't have you're making millions of dollars gambling off of this. You do, and it's funny because the precedent used to be you couldn't bet on yourself or bet on the game. So now I guess it's went over to I'm not saying
you still can't.
No, but I'm saying the people bet on all kind of stuff before nobody cared. The poker games, all that stuff been happening forever. This ain't brand new. They all talk about it. They would be in a locker room playing for money.
Yeah.
And they not playing for it's in the Last Dance, Michael Jordan talked about. Remember, he goes all night long. They say they're playing poker and stuff. That's documented.
NBA player, I think that's actually, you could probably go back down a timeline in almost every era. That's a consistent thing. Is that they was always gambling.
If they come at me now for saying for tax evasion, You need to go back, and everybody Michael Jordan named in that book, you need to go back and get your money. Because they ain't pay taxes. But I'm just saying, if you will give me, you got to go get all these.
I think that's what you're saying.
They didn't have the money.
No, but they still made a lot of money to pay taxes on. It's not about how much, it's about, you want to get me on taxes, then you got to go across the board. You can't tell me in baseball and stuff like that. I mean, people, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right, but it's people.
It's just such a shame and a mockery when there's other bigger things that are going on, other than them to sit here and be like, yo, we got Chauncey Billups today and Terry Rozier. You know what I mean? Like it's just a travesty, especially like again, even in the bigger picture, it's like how long has the mob been around? And for that to be probably one of the longest,
the White Sox scandal, the mob got involved.
Like and for that to not be like maybe a bigger story, like man, the mob still got ties.
But it's kind of funny because this segued into the next part of the show we're talking about is the landscape, and it is like you said. Everywhere you look, you see they got Jamie Foxx doing commercials.
Mm-hmm.
And not just open the casino in Queens.
He opened the casino in Queens.
Didn't know that.
Wow.
So it's real, man. So it's glamorized. And a lot of times you'll see this, like fights and stuff. They're at casinos.
So that's what I was saying. In terms of the landscape, I think it is going to be broadened, and it is not going to be any type of hold up or let up in sight. Even with what's going on right now, like with players getting caught up in some of this, I think it's just going to be hard penalties for them, so they can try to scare people not into doing it. And then, but I do think like just in terms of gambling and betting, like that's not going anywhere. There's too much money in it, and like it's just
when the Rams play,
you can bet on sports.
When the Rams play the Eagles, right? And everybody knew what this was. You see Jalen Carter and I forget the guy named the big time defensive end for the Rams. Young boys, really versatile.
Mm-hmm.
You see them talking before the game.
The chain.
Yeah, you see them talking again at halftime and versus laughing and joking, and then you see Wesley walking out with the chain on. What do you think happened? What do you think happened?
So I mean, so that's actually an interesting scenario right there. Like, do we feel like is there a difference between the idea of betting and gambling? Like, as somebody who's I've had plenty of times where like I bet somebody like bet you dinner or bet you this like. I'll shoot or make more shots to you, or one-on-one, or like,
but you're not. Well, I mean, Devin touched on something. Your mom touched on. I think the biggest fear is, especially if what you said is right. Well, no, I think the biggest fear, especially if you're right in what you said, the biggest fear is you do accumulate a debt with somebody and they blackmail to get you to do stuff because you get them access.
Yeah.
What to me is no different with a referee, with an official of a game. He's subject to the same thing.
Some of them guys, they get it too.
And you see some of the calls they make. But I'm just saying, so I think it's going to be hard to get out because whether you're on a golf course or somewhere, unless you follow them around, that's what a lot of them bet. They wager. Mm-hmm. I can make this hole. I can make the hole. You're not going to do this.
You're not going to take it out the game. I think.
I was going to say, I think from this angle too. Remember Michael Porter Jr. He was talking about it, but he made a good point. It was like a lot of these players, like if you have the opportunity to help your homie out, make some extra cash, tell him like, oh, I might come out. First quarter, I might follow out, bet the under. A lot of people do that too.
Now that's the problem for me. Yeah, it's like you're not even betting on yourself doing well. You betting on like, yo,
just to help you.
Okay, well let me ask you a question. We talk about
under 3.5.
So with Rozier, right? Allegedly the NBA got wind of.
Yeah.
That he was faking injury stuff to come out of the game, but they let him keep playing.
I heard that too.
They let him keep. I mean, they allegedly last year. For the last 2 years, they've been flying around, and they've been looking at tape and looking at things, saying, "Well, like he faking injury and stuff like that." So, but they didn't find him guilty.
They said because they wanted to ink that TV deal first before.
That could be, but that's crazy that you had this investigation, you clear him, and then the FBI comes out and says, "Look, well, no, he and they claim they got a history of it. They claim they looked at all it, which I doubt them. That somebody looked at all the tapes and all the thing, and they figured out that he was faking and all kind of stuff. But I'm just interested in that to your point about the money, how. They said they invested. So this is the part the NBA is struggling with because how do you clean this up then?
I think actually kind of even talking about the landscape and what you said, it's always been there, whether it's from at the referee level. Like remember it was that referee that had to him. He did some prison time.
Tim Donnie.
Yeah, Donnie. And then also, it was a college athlete. Back in the day, I want to say like the 90s, he used to play for like maybe Boston College or something like that. He got into it with some bookies, and then it was 30 for 30 because it was so obvious. It was like they was getting blown out, and at the end of the game, it was like 8 seconds left. Yeah. He like sprinted and got a layup.
Some college. I know you talking
about. Yeah, and he like sprinted and got a layup, like, and everybody just looking like, yo, we down. But he just wanted to close the spread so he could make the bet. But it's like one thing you mentioned was that happens with some of these guys. Like you go that route, now you get in the hole because it's like, man, I didn't get the last one, or like, man, I got to do this. Or now you're trying to pull in other guys because it's like, yo, I need us to get the under. I can't do it by myself.
And that's what happened to Chicago White Sox scandal. So this is the question: when is enough though? You're making 9, 10, 15, 20. You're making all these millions of dollars. You know, when is enough?
I think it's the idea of like teaching some of these guys how to manage their money, because I think like it's like a culture that like some people you might even grow up in that or come from that where you rolling dice or like you doing whatever in your neighborhood for money, shoot for money. Like I think it's people who may come from a culture of that, and then you get into the NBA and it's still a thing. And like, I mean, I'm sure everybody do it. You do fantasy football, or like you might bet on football games, and then you betting on college basketball games. You're getting close to gambling on NBA games because it's just college. And then next thing you know, maybe I'll just do the West Coast. You know, I won't be in I won't do my conference, and then now it's slippery slope for some guys. I think like, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere, and it's going to be even worse. But I think the kids coming out NIL deals, the kids not getting money. A kid that's like, oh well, he getting this much bread. Like, well, what if I potentially put some bread on?
I can't blame on the culture. I get what you're saying because I come from that culture where we would just laugh and joke about as a guy to hang out with, man. We would tip our money and he would go in there and shoot crap and come out. We would all have steak and pizza money. He was good at it. We would laugh and joke about it. But you got to get to a point where you have to understand that certain things about your culture that's not correct. You got to get to the point where you realize, okay, this played well when I was 16 years old, or this played well and I agree. I know what I'm saying. They don't. But I'm saying, but you should get to a point where you say, okay, this ain't gonna play now. You know, and to me, I'm thinking them like Chauncey Billups. You gotta like Charles Barkley. I mean, Shaq summed it up. Not only do you got to deal with this, your name and everything being charged. You probably never get another coaching job. Probably never get in basketball again. But your family got to go through this. Your wife and your kids, man, got to go through this. And people can be cruel.
It's not because most people, unfortunately, they don't learn until they get caught, and then they're like, "Oh, I wasn't or shouldn't have been doing this." Like, "Oh, this isn't that cool." Some people know. Like even just, I was thinking about with like big and dog fighting. Like that was just a culturally something he grew up with. He didn't think anything of it until he got caught. It was like, whoa, this is bigger than what I thought it was. But it's funny,
because even before he got caught, he realized it was wrong. It was just he didn't get out of it, but he did realize he was wrong. And you're 100% right, because when if you go back and you watch the biography, he talks about how from the time he was a kid, in the project, they used to dog fight right outside his window. And he talked about how he would be at these things, and you would look around and you would see the mayor and the police chief and the fire, all the people in there. So it had become a way of culture. But he did say he had got to a point, man, where his mom pulled him aside. He didn't listen to it, but his mom pulled him aside. And I think, he hindsight 2020, I'm pretty sure he would listen to it. But at some point, you got to say, look, is it worth what I'm willing to lose? Am I willing to lose what I could possibly lose?
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
I think what they never talked about too, like probably maybe even why it's hard, is that adrenaline rush. Yes.
And that's another thing I want to talk about. Is it just about the money?
No, not the feeling. You feel it's a euphoric feeling. You bet $20 and get 40, you get 60.
And when you bet $500,000, you lose $500,000. What feeling is that?
You want to know what though too? Like, and I'm sure Devin, you can attest to this too. Like even playing fantasy football, it makes some of the games just mean and feel a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
Like special. I wouldn't care about Carolina versus Arizona any other time.
Like, right, but it's like because I have
still
the thing, like because I have a player, now I have a vested interest. You know, it's like, man, I would at least see who my guy is. But if you betting money, now they care about the every second.
The flip side of that is you put more pressure on player. The flip side of that is
I don't got any my job.
No, but I'm not saying no. But what I'm saying, no, he didn't choose that. Like you choose him. He didn't choose you out of bet on.
You are on my team.
But what I'm saying that's the flip side of it. I guess that players are looking at because, or if you're a player and say you only making a couple $100,000, it's like, hey, you missed a deal in college. You're not getting that money. You know, like the guy who played the receiver for what's dumb his own name. He used to play for the Falcons. I can't think of his name. Man, he was good too. He got suspended for
Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley. Yeah. You know, he didn't need the money. I would love what he did it for him. And some say it's a trim and some say it's different things. But then you get some people who are not making a lot of money.
Yeah, he was hurt.
Nothing to do.
But that's a lot of pressure, man. When you and I understand what you're saying, but think about it, man. You know everybody bet. You know that you playing because they all play fantasy football too. Mm-hmm. They know when I'm guarding. They know when I got this man over here, I can't let him win because he gonna beat me. Because maybe I'm playing against him this week. You know that makes things very interesting. Like I'm guarding AJ, but he's on my board team. Yes, he on my team. Yeah, he on my team. I can win late night game. I can win a lot of money. And then also, to me, it brings suspicion on the whole game because people are already complaining about. They're saying there's been more bad calls this year already than it's been all last year.
But you know what though? With all of this seeping in, now you question everything. Yeah. It's like, yo, like, are the refs in on this?
Well, it's funny because, and I'm not saying it because I'm an Eagle fan, but it was saying because somebody was talking about this the other day. They were saying how. When you watch the Eagles games, you've never seen any game in the history of the NFL where officials are picking up the flag and reversing calls. You know,
Kansas City.
They blow the flag, in their favor. I'm talking about against them. They're talking about against them how, and you see almost every week you see something, and you see like they just they change their mind.
Yeah. I mean but then to me I'm like, yo, now they need to be investigated.
Oh, because they're not above it. To me, officials are not above it either. But I think you get like the guy whatever Tim Dunning. No, he was talking about. He said it, and he was saying how a group of them got together and they decided they were going to give AI a hard time.
Right.
Yeah, because he didn't like the interaction they had between him.
Now, how can you say that? But then that almost, I mean, even if you were to put that with that, or even separate the two, it's just the idea of having that human impact. Is always going to be there, and I think like benefiting or making money on it is where we kind of draw the line.
Well, I think that, and I think also the fact that you still have certain people, and some of them happen to be officials, who don't like when people come out and change things. I don't know, I have to represent a whole new generation, man. Everything that a lot of white people were afraid of, didn't deem socially acceptable, was considered unprofessional, is now all of a sudden is becoming is a culture in the NBA now. Yeah, and I think, people on the other side of it, they have a chance to make a decision. Now, I can alter this game. You think you're the superstar, but I can control this now. I'm just blowing my whistle. Saying this or saying that. And I think you see it in a lot of games now. I think you see so many questionable calls. That's really not questionable. Or to me, that's the reason why I'm not crazy about instant replay, because the ref be standing right there. And he won't even call.
That's why you need the instant replay center. Somebody check it now. These are checks and balances. But the idea.
But know what that's a good idea. But you know that the union is not going to.
You need a report card. I'm going through everything, every whistle you blew.
But it's funny because that's how they choose for the Super Bowl, for the championship and playoffs. They choose the best of the best. So to your point, why wouldn't you do that during the season?
Audit.
Like every time when I'm watching the game, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball, and I hear Bryce Harper is batting .295, but when so and so umpires the game, he's batting $1 in the quarter. Something's wrong with that. Or same in the football game. Oh well, the Eagles never won when so and so going. You hear stuff. You watch a basketball game.
He's having a lot of stats like that.
Yeah, make your eyebrows go like this. Am I the only one that thinks it's a problem?
You hear Chris Paul a certain amount of games.
Yeah, but
Scott Foster.
Yeah,
it's like
it makes you raise your eyebrow. Like, okay, so but yet you tell me it's not going something with me. Well, I think gambling is a sickness, but I also think gambling is a stronger vice than most people realize.
Dopamine hit, really get that.
But I think it's a stronger vice that because especially to people who are impoverished, because they think it's an easy way out. And let's not even look at let's for 1 second let's step away. How many people play the lotto?
Yeah,
that's gambling.
Quick, easy way to win without any really type of effort.
Yeah,
I think that's like get rich quick. Like people think they can really just hit it big, like getting a quick come up off of doing some gambling.
Yeah.
And like I mean, it's like I said, just speaking from probably some experience, giving it a try here and there. Like it does add a little bit of extra excitement to some of the sports that you watch and you enjoy. Like it's not for you. I'm just saying, like
I can say that because I don't play.
Yeah,
I don't play it.
For myself and then for some others, like it is like you get a little bit of rush.
I like the purity of the game.
The purity of the game.
Yeah.
Let's say this. Some of the games ain't that good. Some ain't that good.
And then it's where the old school comes down.
They're shooting all these threes.
Then you don't watch it. I hear you.
But
somebody put the over
it's just,
I make it 10 threes.
I give you the perfect example. I give you the perfect example. I look at the Sixers right now. You know, I like watching them now, not just because they win, because they play the right way. They're passing the basketball. We were talking about it earlier. You know, which by the way, I give you props because in the first show you said they were going to be better than us.
Hey, didn't I tell you guys? They like in top 14 in the East.
Well, I would look right now, they probably top 2, top 3.
Yeah,
that backcourt is like killing people, man. But I look at that and I think so. For me, that's good. But I do get your point. There's some people who want to bet, man, and they want to say, okay, well, B's not playing tonight. You know, we should lose this game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was before they got the 2 guards going on. So
that shit, like think about that. When the Sixers is bad and you really wanted something to watch, you're like, man, I know they're gonna lose tonight. Maybe they might not lose by that much. They'll cover the spread. And
you sound like you a gambler.
He's gonna have over 20. Like, no, I'm just saying, like
you only have one that first game. You only have 1 point that first game, so you haven't had 20 that game. You out of luck.
But I'm just, it is like people who kind of it gives you another reason or a way to watch the game for some people. It is interesting to me the science behind it. Me personally, like how do they be getting the points and spreads so close all the time? It does make you think like, man, what type of math or science do y'all use? Or do y'all have like we don't know to keep things like that?
But they look at trends and
how it's winning.
Somebody spends a lot of time. They'll look at the last 26ers versus Knicks game, and they'll look at how many people, the same people are there to score in Tennessee. They look at all that stuff. I mean, we don't because we just watch the game, but they pay attention to all that, man. And you know, math is something when you nail it, math can pretty much it can hit itself spot on, man. And there's people who sit there, well, the last 20 times Sixers played the Knicks, and B got out rebounded by this guy who, he did well when this guy wasn't playing him, when this guy's playing him, and he figured all that out. And then there's some people who sit back and, man, they just have hunches. They do. There's people who say, I got a hunch.
Yeah, I know that.
I just feel good about this. But I just think as a whole, I think, as we look at the landscape, America itself has embraced gambling.
Yes.
It has embraced gambling, man.
Yes.
I mean, you can bet on anything now, man. Anything, everything.
Like, it used to be, again, like, it was just separated. Like, I have friends that gamble. I feel like before you couldn't do it in PA. Like, you had to pretty much go to either Jersey or Delaware. Yeah. And then, like,
it's a racetrack.
Now, you can do it, go right down to riverfront,
You don't even have to leave your house.
Don't have to leave your house. The gambling, I was about to say that about the apps, the football apps. You can really gamble like this casino.
But there's more opportunities to gamble now anyway.
Yes.
Back then, you didn't have a lot of casinos. You had horse racing, and things like that. But to tell you another thing about how America's hypocritical, because you can't go to a Sudoku station now, and they don't have the slot machines and stuff in there.
That's seeing that now too.
You go in there to the Sudoku station, or they got, and I'm sure other stations have it too. They got a whole room with slot machines and stuff. I've been in somewhere they moved out the shelves to food shelves and put them over by the, and made a whole line in the store for them. So I mean,
it's like, and I think that's like one side about it too. Here is the culture of gambling in America. Period. You know, it's like it was only a matter of time before it was going to be in sports. Like, you know, it was only a matter of time before players are being involved in this.
Well, let me ask you a question.
At a higher level.
This is I've been thinking about.
This is the gas station thing. I'm sorry, Dad. It's crazy because I've seen somebody sitting in there. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So you know about prohibition, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. I linked it to what's happening there, what's happening together. They came around. They said, okay, we're going to pass a law because we want to control it. You know, we think it's a bad thing. We want to stop it. But once they figured out that people were still going to do it, and they figured out a way to make money off of it, they legalized it. Because you don't go to sleep one day and say alcohol is bad, you know, or cannabis is bad, and you wake up the next day, all of a sudden you got a brand new view. What, you making money off of it now? So I think same thing with cannabis. You know, when people use it, they lock people up. People lost houses, lost, confiscated people's stuff. And now you can go down to the dispensary and get it.
Very true.
So do you think that's what you're seeing here with the NBA?
What about the fact
because
that
I frown. Yeah, but now not just NBA, but
they can make money off.
Yeah, FanDuel, all of stuff. We can make money now.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that was part of it too. Like the NBA and NHL, all them probably frowned upon it so much.
I guess
it was like
hockey. I don't know if I like it.
They do. But it was like, how do we capitalize and make money off it? Or they probably saw that, like you said, fans, we were going to gamble anyway.
Yeah. Well, you said it.
And it was like people going traveling.
And players are still going to gamble.
So
whether they're on an airplane somewhere else, that's what they do. They going to gamble.
I kind of mean this. It's the idea. Capitalism is going to seep its way into everything. And then like that ultimately it's like, how can we keep making money? And for professional sports, it was like, man, we are giving y'all a top tier product, as good as it gets, and it only can get as good as what we get in terms of talent. How can we continue to make money? Gambling had to get in there. They had to.
Because you got to get
another money source.
They end to keep up with the salaries.
Yeah.
And the
TV contracts.
Well, the salaries are out. The salaries. The thing about the salaries, they were outpacing the TV contracts. So even though they're getting this big TV contract, they already were paying millions of dollars to a lot of these players. And now, especially with the emergence of guaranteed money.
But like that, the gambling is part of like some of their advertisement deals. It's just like that's why every stadium you're going to see it in there, plastered everywhere. It's literally on people's uniforms.
ESPN bet.
Yeah, at the bottom of every game, like in the corner, every ticker. Yes, you see it all day.
Because it's about the dollar.
But think about the college. You can bet on college sports too.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can bet on. When I was a kid growing up, and I'm not going to get too much information. I'll tell you because I know a guy who ran numbers and never wrote a number down. He was that good. And I remember one time we were doing something, and he said, "Take a walk with me." And we walked. And he took me to this place of business. Everybody in the neighborhood thought was legit. We went and knocked the door in the back, and it was just full of cages. You know, the window cages and stuff. People turning the bet money and then collecting and stuff like that, right in the middle of North Philadelphia. Never knew it was that. And you go in and you see people you know in there. Post office guy in there, man, the local beat cop. You see it. So I think gambling has been here. I think the landscape now is broader, as you said. I think it's more of an opportunity. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's more, because it's legalized, but you still got a lot of folk out here who would do gambling that's not legalized. So what do you think the reason behind that is? They're not going to FanDuel and betting, they're still going to Chelsea Billups poker game. Well, they're betting on the street on games and stuff like that. They're not doing it the traditional way now. So what do you think the reason for that is?
Cash in hand. Cash in hand.
No, that's money
right there.
The social aspect.
No taxes?
Social aspect too, you're gonna be seen a certain way. People see you winning the money, they see you getting the big pot. I feel like it's a different deal. You just heard about it.
Yeah.
No, that could be true. I'm always curious because like Chelsea Billups. I don't know why, but it's like you could have went to a casino and ran that game. You could have went to any casino and say, look, I got to tell my friend will come, and they would have made space for it.
But then the casino got to get some of that too.
Yeah, that's right. But how much? See, that's why I go back to what I said before. When is enough enough?
And then you see our president is like, man, He cut all the loops and the holes. Why can't I just get a piece of this pie and run this game?
He got the
Why?
He got a piece.
I think the NBA don't start. I think they're going to somehow try to look at football. They're going to try to look at the WNBA and all these other sports. It can't be just the NBA.
Well, no, but I think
the WNBA games are fixed.
But the NBA is the one you want right now. Right. The NBA is the one you want to take down right now because that's the one with all the publicity. With the TV deals. It's on TV pretty much year round now because they got the summer league. And if you whatever the dude name is, Chaka Fattah, that's not his name. I'm making fun of the guy in charge of the FBI. You can make a name for yourself if you're the guy who does this. I'm just saying you can make a name for yourself.
Sounds like it's awesome.
You can make a name for yourself, man. If you just went and because the NBA is like, man, that's always been like the glass house. It's like we had the Malice in the Palace. That people were so upset about that, man, because this kind of stuff shouldn't be happening in the NBA, but it was happening in other sports. So hockey, you get paid to knock people out. So I just think that's why it is the NBA too. I think this is just a tip of the iceberg because I saw something. And I don't know. I'm not saying he is, but they started naming all these players who went to these games, who attended the games. So which tells me the IRS will be looking for a lot of people. Now, I don't know how you prove it, but
basketball tournament.
We still.
What do you think? What do you think happened? What do you think happened when they were in the bubble? You know they weren't in that bubble just playing.
Oh yeah, game.
Playing 21 back, Jack.
It's just like, then where is the line going to be drawn? Because now you're just gonna be like y'all said, this is happening in the NFL. This is happening in
college.
Basketball.
What's happening in college?
It's happening right on the road in college, and not even just like at the highest level, like D1 or like it's D2, D3. Like it's happening widespread on the block somewhere.
But it's been happening. How many times have you heard that coaches bet? Like if I'm playing in New Orleans. And and
the mayor,
and they betting cheese steaks, and they betting gumbo and all.
The mayor's betting this with the city of terrible. It's like gambling, honestly, has always been a part of our culture and society.
So let me ask you a question, though. So you're the commissioner of the NBA. You're the commissioner of the NBA. So how do you handle this?
Harsh punishment.
For what? What's going to be?
Terry Rozier is done. If it's like you found out that he has incorporated that, he's done, and we pressing charges. Unfortunately, you're going to jail. We should actually do that to Michael Porter Jr.'s brother. He should be going.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure
he should be going to jail.
It was two brothers.
And now you want to know why I'm like being harsh like that too, because you want to make it a point to say like, yo, don't do this. You messing with not only just the integrity of the game, but like from a legal standpoint, I just feel like you gotta have some type of something there to be able to throw them in. Like it's fraud at this point. We putting out a fraudulent product because you over here taking and doing this with games. So yeah, I would be like, yo, send him to jail. Just like Donahue or like the referee, like he ended up having to go to jail for what he was doing with kind of the numbers.
But you knew he was going to jail, man. Because
send a player to jail.
This situation was crazy too. The same thing. It's like they said.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying don't send a player to jail. But people already doubt officials anyway in all sports. Officials probably got the least amount of credibility in all sports, man. So you knew they was going to get him because they trying to uphold the character and integrity of the game. So you knew he was going to get him, man. But it's just, I don't know. I find the whole thing interesting because one, it is hypocritical because you can watch anything and they talk about gambling and betting and you see coaches do it all the time. Two, I think the thing that I find really crazy about it is, is it just about the tax money? Is that one of the reasons why they're going high? Because they've known this gambling on for a long time. But like your point, they weren't making a whole lot of money 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Now they're making a lot of money. That's a lot of tax dollars. That's a lot of tax dollars. Yeah, that's a lot of tax dollars. So so is that it? Is that why they look the other way? Until now, like, okay, or like I said, we need to make an example out of somebody for like you said, because we don't want this to become, to tarnish the league to the point where we think every game now is suspect.
I think my idea, what I just said, would make David Stone proud. He will be like, "Yo, we need to sign him up. Like, put him up in the office."
But what's the level? But no, I'm not disagreeing. But what's the level? Do you say, if the person did it one time?
And Terry Rozier is the perfect guy because
he's not a superstar.
Right, he's not a superstar, but he is well enough to
just take that on the working man.
Yeah, good enough player.
Take it on the working man.
Like, whoa,
they do that to
they do it to Terry Rozier. Like
he making $75 million.
like,
Stuff like that.
But you can't believe it's just I can't believe it's just.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying. I know I'm not disagreeing with you, but I can't. But I think that's what's going to come out. I think sooner or later, you're going to see other names going to start to come out. You're going to see, because it's funny because I've been having the conversation with my friends lately, and we had the same thing, how soft the league has gotten. Because people get a hangnail. I'm not playing. Mm-hmm. Now I was like, okay, did you really ever hangnail? Or this just, my back? Because you can't tell if somebody's back is hurt or not. So somebody started saying I got a back problem.
I know.
So it's interesting.
They're saying, since this whole gambling thing dropped, a lot of these players, how you had these great performances, everyone's playing hard now.
Yeah.
They almost have to.
Like, yo, you can't catch me.
So I was out there yesterday. I said, oh.
Well, he
got to ball out.
No, but I got. But see, this is so funny because I forgot about that. How ironic it is because you had owners cheating. Yeah, you had owners cheating about money. So what you got to do something now. You can't say you just go smack these guys on the wrist when you got people. Because you got to admit that's pretty smart.
Because you know what?
That's pretty smart, man. You pay him salaries. You can, Then you wonder about how these other teams getting on the salary cap. Why are they doing the same thing?
You don't think these owners are doing things?
Is that why you got Wendy's on the sneaker? Because you get those side on.
But it is interesting again. Like we talk about how he's skating over, really highlighting the mob.
Yeah.
And like actually what mob or who, there's this kind of broad mob and putting basketball players' faces to it. Because I think there's a whole bunch of other things like that.
But I think everybody realizes when you say mob, you get everybody's attention. Mm-hmm. And then, basketball is represented by what? A lot of black people. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of black people, man. There's still some people who don't like that. Remember, shut up and dribble and all that stuff. Yeah.
They don't like the opinionated vocalness of some athletes or some people.
And there's some people who just don't like the fact that some of these athletes make a lot of money. I was Brian Baldinger. I'd like to check him. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. He used to play for the Eagles. They call him Baldy at a sports show. And yeah, because it was Baldinger. So it was pretty funny because not funny, but he was saying how about Philadelphia fans. This made me think about it. He was like, he's even Minnesota. He's at the airport. Jalen Hurts had the best game of anybody's life. And people asking him, when we going to trade him? Where you going to put the backup at? I'm just telling you. So, but it's funny because
when we going to put the
backup? No, but when the gambling came out, you know what it made me think of? Because that's why people care more about stats, because I can make money off stats. I'm not gonna make a lot of money off winning and losses.
$5 for the backup to throw 3 touchdowns. That's a crazy payout.
But not him. But if you get
your money,
not the 1 year, not the quarterback. But if you think he's a better quarterback, AJ gonna put up numbers now. You thinking Devontae can put up more numbers now? You thinking Dallas got old or the same thing while you trade for quarterback? You just picked up the dude you picked up.
Oh, no,
wow, because he's gonna sling around.
Tired of being disappointed.
He's gonna sling around. No, but
Caleb Williams wasn't cutting it.
But that's my point. So and it wasn't. But if he had the receiver, like I look at Joe Montana, 49 fans about it. He threw more 2-yard passes that turned into 80-yard touchdown runs. He's the reason why they changed the stat to run after catch, because he used to throw these sliders. But guess who got paid? Who had Jerry Rice and who had John
70-yard bomb.
Yeah, the 70-yard pass was pass plays. What they were saying. You threw a 2-yard slant to Rice and Taylor, and they took off. So what I'm saying, what I'm saying, that's how you would think about that. When you start making changes like that, you get paid. If I got AJ Brown and you put in a guy who's not going to run and going to throw the football, I'm gonna make more money. I can gamble differently now.
Yeah,
I can still put
Joe Flacco.
What'd you say? The odds went up.
Yeah.
I said, thank you.
They started calling.
That helped Jamar Chase. I got Jamar Chase, so that helped.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I look at the same thing while I'm laughing because when you look at what's going on with the Bengals right now. I mean, not the Bengals, the Browns. People are highly upset because he keep playing this dude who can't play.
You want to play his guy.
And somebody said the same thing. Yo, man, I don't care about y'all, but y'all kill my fantasy. He said, you keep putting this dude in this dude. Yeah, ain't doing nothing. But I think it's funny how people, when something like this happens, you start to think like that. Like, how are people behind the scenes thinking?
Because it's like, if I ain't got nothing to cheer for in regards to my team, again, I mean, I mentioned in reference this, I need something else. At least let me get a quarterback.
I want to win.
Ball to. Yeah,
maybe it's just me.
But you know what it is, though, too? I think just that happens in the culture is like we immediately write teams off. You know, I feel like back in the day, like every team into the season, like, yo, we got a chance. Even if it was the last place team, they was like, we all starting at 0. Like now it's just like someone's still gonna be at 0.
No, but I think, and I can say this, I think number 11, I won't say his name. We were talking number 11 for the Eagles. Yeah, he talks more about his stats than he does winning. You know, when he won the Super Bowl, what did he say? Well, it's not what I thought it was. Man, people play their whole lives just to get to a Super Bowl. You know, they, like I said, and I'll say it, when they were 4-0, they weren't forcing the ball. They forced them the ball for 2 games. They became 4-2. They went back to a regular offense. Well, not regular offense, but they started spreading the ball around. They destroyed the Vikings. He didn't play when they played against the Giants, and they ran the football well. And they're not a better team without him. So don't. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, at what point do you realize it's a team game? And I think that's changed over the time period. We were talking about Embiid. That's changed, man. Guys,
individual stats.
You don't even hear guys talk about tips like they used to talk about.
Individual stats.
Rookies will come in. I want to help my team win a check. You don't even win a chip. You don't even say that anymore.
I'm just trying to get to the check.
Pretty much. I'm trying to be the best player I can be. Basically, that's what they're saying. I need to get paid. So I think that has impacted gambling too, because you just play for that. You know, you just playing for stats, man. I think it's easy.
Stats it's easy to kind of let that see.
This is the biggest argument now, and they talk about Hurts. Hurts is which is what the game's supposed to be about. But yet you got these general managers and all owners who say they would have these other quarterbacks when one spot. Why? Because they look the part. They're 6'6" and they're 200-something pounds. They can sling the rock. Herbert does not want a playoff game yet. And you got people pick. No, he can throw 300 yards all year long. He just don't do it in the playoffs.
That's what I need.
But see, you just proved my point. Look, man, he ain't gonna win no chip, but he gonna make money through the year.
Exactly.
I'm gonna get paid through the year. I'll bet you when I get to the playoffs.
But actually, with that, speaks to
terrible.
That speaks to why the NBA and NFL want gambling in the game so much.
Because the dark side.
No, because just like you just made that point of like the idea of like he gonna just throw for 300 then and. And Devin said, well, that's all I need.
But it used to be I want to win. It used to be I want to win a chip. No, but I agree with you. Even when I hear the arguments between when I hear Stephen A. Smith and Dan Orlovsky, the stuff they argue about makes no sense to me. When you talk about, Tom Brady said it best. Everybody's sitting there arguing about, he said every so many years, the arguing about the way the quarterback should look, should play comes up. It does. And he says now. He said, before you used about who you got the best chance to win. That was always the question they would ask. Who would have the best chance to win? Now, it's not even about that. They're not talking about, like, look at the Jalen Hurts thing. The guy's been to a Super Bowl, outplayed Mahomes 3 times, actually 4 times, twice in the regular season and then in the Super Bowl. But then you got people who come out saying they still wouldn't take him. What is that? He wouldn't be in my top 5. I'm going to pick these guys first. You're picking. They don't win. I mean, they don't win. They put up numbers. So this feeds to gambling, though, because gambling is about, I don't even hear people talk about winning anymore. They want the stats, man.
And I was actually about to say, like, ESPN.
As long as I cover. As long as we cover. That's what they.
It used to be like they used to just report on the news, and then now, like, or the sports news, but then it's just different.
Like, look at this. I've not heard, and I haven't been close to it. I have not heard people come out like devastated over this. Oh, it's going to be a black guy in the league. I hear the retired players talking when you watch the shows. You don't hear many people in the NBA coming out saying, oh, we got to fix this. No. It's business as usual. To your point, they're playing hard, but I just figured it's the first part of the season. But yeah, I just think, I mean, it's like the Sixers. If you look at the Sixers, I know everybody probably took Boston in the cup in the spread.
Of course.
Only like that. And then the second game, you thought the same thing. Now you kind of messed me up now. Not me, but people better like, okay, you had the Wizards because you had them in a back-to-back. They traveling. They just came off. They had to come back in the first 2 games. We're going to win this game with the stat line and everything. And then they come back and win.
Yeah. That would probably have been a good one to put some money on for the comeback. Huh?
Yeah, you about to go to jail too.
No, it's legal.
You about to go to jail too.
You say what? Sixers always play after they competition.
Huh?
I said Sixers always play after
the Sixers, yeah.
So
and then, but they different this year.
No, I don't think Charlotte. No, I don't think they're playing down
in these games.
I don't think they're playing down. They still learn.
Yeah.
You got to remember, this is even Maxey. It's a whole new style of play now. You're not looking for Embiid. It's his team now. If I don't want to pass the rock, I ain't got to pass it. He does pass the rock. And check this out. He got people who pass the rock to. We're going to ball.
Get in the bucket.
They're not, and then the offense fits his talents, which probably kills some better too, because now this offense has more motion. He's not standing there waiting to get the ball, and I was telling Chris, they attack more off the elbows than I've never seen them do that before. Before it was always down the middle or baseline. Now they
close outs and down.
So I think, so for gamblers, they probably having a stroke because I know that, because even when Chris in top 4, I was like, but he's knocking down the three.
Mm-hmm.
So he killed people because remember they said he couldn't shoot.
I told you, I've seen it. I was like, oh, he got a nice little form. He ain't too bad.
Well, I told you when they interviewed him, it was a classic line, and they said they replaying it. The guy said, "Hey, well, you couldn't shoot. When you got here, what happened?" He said, "I never said I couldn't shoot." He said, "In college, I could get to the hole anytime I want to get to the hole, so I didn't have to shoot." He was like, "Yeah."
He said, "Tyrese Maxey couldn't shoot." Look at that.
But I think this is so. And as we get ready to close off, I know we got a few minutes, but so is the risk worth it? Because you talked about adrenaline. You talked about all the different things that come along with it. But do you think you ever stop? Not you, I mean, that somebody would ever stop and say, "Is it worth it if I get caught?"
I think know your limits, your rules. Like, because I don't want to say like people, it's not worth it for people to do it. Because even in some cases, it is like, listen, it's like a social thing. Like some guys get together with the friends and like they playing poker. Like I've known people to do that, and like they not putting money down at this. I know people they doing it for like $5 or back in the day, Oreos and pretzel sticks.
But see, $5 to $10. And I guess
I'm just saying,
I
it's
guess
like the idea of coming together,
but
and just like a fellowship, playing cards.
So where does the responsibility come in?
So
where's the responsibility come in?
I think like $100,000 hands, it's crazy. Like just to kind of get in there, and then like the idea of like knowing who you with and around, like for this many people to come around and you don't know who they are. And especially at this much money,
$100,000.
Like, yo, that's
once
crazy.
It gets to 3 to 4 zeros, just know someone is definitely going to be upset.
Like, you can't be somebody around and it's like, I don't know this guy, I don't trust this guy type thing.
But see, that's
Molly's Game. I seen that movie. It happened.
But that's how we think. But
that was real life.
But there's a lot of people who don't have. I say this all the time. There's a lot of people with sense but not common sense who don't have street smarts. They're smart. The A's and B's and the 4.0, but they don't have common sense. They're not thinking, well, who's this guy? I've never seen this guy before. Who's this lady? I've never seen this lady before. They just business as usual.
People just think not me though too. I think that's a big part of this.
I agree.
I could guarantee like that Chauncey Billups and other guys that generally are involved in this stuff, they probably maybe even seen or heard other people doing it and was like, oh, they got away with it.
We got a minute.
Not me.
I want to think this last question. So do you think, we spend a lot of time talking about man and things of that nature. Do you think, is that some of the reason why people gamble? Because it has something to do with how they think it makes them more macho? Because I can say, hey, $50,000 bet. I don't know.
I don't think it's even a gender thing anymore because I know women that
chicks out here
too. Well, person
putting together a parlay.
Yeah.
Well, person
asking me for a opinion.
I think we're in a culture of everything fast and quick. And if it's a quick way I can get rich or get some money, whether it's like putting a couple dollars down here and saying like, oh, all I gotta do is pick these games and go, oh, I know enough about this sport, or I think literally that's how people fall into it.
Well, it's funny because I didn't think about office pools.
Yeah, office pools count too.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about that. I people play office pools.
March Madness, and it's because and they like, oh, you mean I just get to pick a, or they do the squares and you just gotta have certain numbers.
Yeah,
it's like
March Madness, the big one.
Yeah, but even you brought up the lottery. It's the idea of like minimum effort, maximizing the results.
You know, LeBron James did 6 assists.
Yeah, and right, you don't even have to do anything. I just gotta sit here and watch LeBron James, and if he doesn't do it, I can just yell at him online.
Anyway, another great show. Above Average Black Men. You know,
easy. Look corny. What do you mean you're not playing tonight?
We will see. You got them close out.
Above Average Black Men, thank you guys for joining us. I think we had a great conversation.
Yeah,
I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like we touched about. But one thing to close on, if you do have a gambling problem, make sure that you are looking for and getting help. National Helpline, 1-800-522-4700. If you need help or assistance, look that up. Whether it's a phone number online, get some help. Save that money.
Look at you, man.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, I like that.
See you guys next week. Yeah, I was impressed, man.
You got it.
Be responsible.
We'll talk about gambling. End it right.